Hey, y'all. So let's go back to Peter. All right. So we are in Matthew 14. And I'm going to read the beginning of the story again because I don't like to say story. I should say account, because let me tell you, this is not a fake something. It's not something that somebody made up. It is the truth and actual accounts. So I like to say accounts, not stories. So let's go back to Matthew 14 and read the account of Peter walking on the water. Just a couple of things. So let's go to verse 22. Then he directed the disciples to get into the boat and go before him to the other side, while he sent the crowds away. And after he dismissed the multitudes, he went up into the hills by himself to pray. When it was evening, he was still there alone. But the boat by this time was out on the sea, many furlongs, is very distant from the land, beaten and tossed by the waves, for the wind was against them. Okay, so we know that the boat was far from the shore and that they were being beaten, that the wind was against them. So between 3 and 6 o'clock in the morning, so this was during the fourth watch of the night, Jesus came to them walking on the sea. And when the disciples saw him on the sea, they were terrified and said, "It's a ghost," and they screamed out with fright. But instantly he spoke to them, saying, "Take courage, I am." Pause and go back. That's the name that he gave Moses. Moses said, "Who do I tell them sent me?" And he said, "Tell them I am. Tell them I am." And so Jesus uses that name here when they scream out, and he said, "Take courage, I am. Stop being afraid." Peter answered him, "Lord, if it's you, command me to come to you on the water." And he said, "Come." So Peter got out of the boat, walked on the water, and came toward Jesus. Peter had no reservation that if it was in fact Jesus and he said, "Come," then he would walk on the water. Peter, just like anybody else, knows you can't walk on the water. That's not something that you normally do. Peter's a fisherman. He's been on the sea and the water his entire life. He knows water. He knows that he cannot walk on water. In fact, he knows that if he has to go anywhere via water, he takes a boat. But look at the faith of Peter, the confidence of Peter in that, if this is you, Lord, tell me to come. And so when he said come, Peter got out of the boat. And what did he do? It was a miracle, right? Peter walking on the water was miraculous. It defied the laws of nature. It was not normal occurrence. So when Jesus told Peter to come, Peter stepped out because he knew he had been around Jesus enough to know that if Jesus said something, you could do it. He knew he had seen enough happen that if Jesus said come, he would be able to walk on the water. And so Peter got out of the boat and he walked toward Jesus. All of the things that we know about Peter, and I said this last Friday, all of the things that we see in ourselves when we look at Peter, right? He was brave enough, bold enough, that if he had the word of Jesus, he could do it. How many of us have the word? We have the promise. And yet, we say, Lord, if it's you, tell me to come. And then he tells us to come. And then we're like, oh, but that's impossible. That's not how it works. We can't do it that way. He tells us to come and step into an impossible situation. Cannot be done. Doesn't happen like this in the natural. Would take a miracle to accomplish it. And yet we stay in the boat because I can't walk on water, Jesus. I mean, I know that I said, if it's you, if you really want me to do this, tell me to come. And we find it. Holy Spirit speaks to us, reveals it. And he says, come. And then we go, I don't think so. I'm going to stay here in the boat. It's just, if he gives us his word, nothing will be impossible. That's what Gabriel told Mary. We're going to go there real fast. Luke chapter 1, verse 37. For with God, nothing is ever impossible. The Amplified, which y'all know is my favorite, and no word from God shall be without power or impossible of fulfillment. So if he's given you a word, the power and the ability to fulfill that word is already available. We'll pick up here tomorrow. I'll see you then. Bye, y'all.